Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 86 of the Top Level Podcast. And this episode is powered by Third Down Displays, your number one spot for supplies, custom stands, and car care. Head over to their website now or go to the link in our bio or in the description of this episode. And whilst there, you might as well use TTP10 for 10% off your purchase. And got to say, a lot of you have already started using the code, which is fantastic to see that you're getting your card supplies, card care, and your slab mags. And talk about slab mags. H, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Ron. Very well. The nights are drawing in. It's very cold. I can't feel my toes. But yes, mate, I'm very well, very well. How are you doing? Well?
Yeah, very well, very well. Obviously, come off a busy weekend as of recording this Monday night, which has been fantastically timed because there's been a release today of a checklist that we can talk about for the first proper set of, it's going to sound horrible saying it, 2023, 2024. Oh, God, can't say 2024 already, but we've got to. And the first thing we're going to talk about is obviously the checklist today of Topps Deco that's come out at £120 a box on the ECQ raffle system on Topps' website. And it's quite a similar release in terms of their normal release for Topps Deco, which comes around about this time every year. So in every single box, you're guaranteed one autograph and two parallels. There is 10 packs per box, 8 cards per pack. So you're getting 80 cards overall. So, hey, obviously, it's normally quite a pioneer / front runner of the New Year's set where you see a lot of players in their new shirts or potentially new signees that have got their autographs in the set. So it's always a bit of a mixture of Topps Deco of it's not high end, but it's still the one that starts ramping up with obviously the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League, which is already kicked off and well underway already.
Yeah, I think Deco is one of those sets where I think we saw previously. You have those really the dual auto, the triple autos that no one really thinks about, and then Deco release, and you think actually that's a pretty cool duo / trio. I think to put it into perspective, we had like Ian Wright and Jesus from an Arsenal perspective last time round. And now you've got like Kane and Musiala as a dual auto. You've got Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund. You've now got triple autos of Ronaldo, Zidane, and Figo. When we had Keown, Seaman, and Adams, was it? I think it was. So again, it's one of those sets where also they haven't got all the sponsors. So also there's some of the kits don't have the sponsors on there, or that's the only downside to Deco sometimes is that you don't have all the sponsors on the kit, which is fine. The set is still nice, but it just misses that little edge where you are missing these sponsors on the kit. But like I said, it's that set where you have the autos, the dual autos, the triple autos that no one really thinks about, or no one really thinks, oh, that'd be a really cool card. And they bring them out and you think, actually, that's pretty mustard to have, that triple auto from Madrid, or to have, a Harry Kane auto from Bayern Munich now. Just looking through the auto checklist, you've got a lot of sort of, new names on there that, in actual fact, Saka's on there for Arsenal, which we didn't talk about before we started recording. I didn't know if you saw that or not. But, you've got Szoboszlai, I think like you say his name, Szoboszlai. Obviously for Liverpool, you've got Rice for Arsenal. You'll see Gabriel Jesus. You've got Harry Kane, obviously in Munich. You've got Doku, which also presumably will be for City. It's Osimhen. You've got Tillemans, Vinicius. So there's a lot of maybe different autos that you wouldn't specifically see in your mainstream sets, which I think is the niche side of these Deco releases, that you are getting a lot of a wide variety of autos in the set. It's a nice set, nothing against it. Is it particularly one of the most sought after on your higher end sets? No. But does it sell well? I think it does. I think the £120 price point isn't too bad either. So yeah, I think all in all, like I said, it's a pretty cool release. As I said, in terms of, there's a lot of autos that, as I said, it's the ones that you don't necessarily think about. It's the ones you don't necessarily see all the time that they release in these sets. And you've got the women introduced into this set now as well, which also I think is a big plus. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I said there's a lot of big names in there, a lot of good autos that collectors from most teams can chase. We just have to wait 6 months for them to release, or post it out, should I say?
Yeah, I think another one as well that you tend to see with Deco is because it's the first year of that set. There's a lot of either new rookies. This is when you start to learn the rookie class, which is always quite a big one to see what's going to happen for the next 6 to 12 months. But then also as well, some players who might have had cards for their old team but now moved to a big club. I think the perfect example, and probably the main chasers we see on some of the demonstration pictures they put, is Lamine Yamal for Barcelona. Obviously, this is realistically, apart from his tops now and living set, this is his first release, so to speak, of numbered parallels that you can get. So that would be one of the biggest chases of this year's set. But then also, Erda Gula for Real Madrid, obviously just signed from Fenerbahce. He's got autos and base cards in it. So that'd be another big chase. It's nice to see some of like what younger players are going to start introducing. And there's quite a lot, as there always is. Obviously, some fall by the wayside and you never actually hear them. But then again, like Rasmus Højlund for Man U, obviously his first cards for him. Obviously, we've said Evan Ferguson, another one, because Brighton are in Europe. Evan Ferguson's going to have more cards than just Panini. For us, obviously, Declan Rice in an Arsenal shirt. It's really cool to see, obviously, Jude Bellingham as well, and Real Madrid. It's getting all these new players in their kits. It takes a bit of time to get used to, but it's going to be quite a cool release. And like you say, £120. All right, probably 85% of the autos are not going to be great. You're not going to really hit, but you're not. When it's £120 price point, and our later talking point, what we're talking about is like, can you really recover prices of boxes if you buy them to resell? It's just quite a tricky one. But 2 parallels and an auto, 120. If you're going to make a loss, it's not going to be a massive loss in comparison to some other boxes, but it's going to be a good fun. Obviously, the triple auto chases are always a fun one to watch. Dual autos, the legend stuff. Like I say, for us, some teams might not have the sponsors, but a Deco is a very nice set. It's really the welcome into the new year. Like I say, now we see as well with Tops, especially working directly with Fanatics, we're seeing a lot more of these new autos as well. And it seems every 3 or 4 days at the moment, Tops are announcing someone else who's signing for them. So if it's going in one way, it's going to be great for us of having that wide range of players signing. I feel going forward as well, we're going to get a lot more. Like we say, Saka's now signing with Tops, and they're going to try and get all of the big names. All right, they've already got most of the big names, but obviously they can't get Mbappe for the moment, who's got an exclusive contract with Panini. But the likes of Haaland, they're going to got autos of his, and all the younger players, obviously Jude Bellingham, Jamal Musiala, have had the creative sets of them. So, hey, it's going to be another good one. You're going to probably see between now and say Chrome release, what would probably be 6 to 8 months away already. But Tops are really working through these checklists and actually making them a lot better. And there's a clear difference between now and 2 years ago. Obviously, helped with Fanatics.
Yeah, I think we were constantly seeing the same autos with the same picture, with the same backdrop, however it may be. It was just very repetitive in terms of the autos that were in the set. I think we can probably speak on behalf of the likes of David Seaman, who managed to work his way into every single top set. But yeah, I think we are starting to see a big increase, a wider variety of autos, and I think Topps Deco has pretty much nailed that on the head in terms of the span of the amount of autos and the differentiation in autos that we're getting in these new sets since obviously Fanatics have come on board. So yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, as I said, we're looking forward to going into the new year to seeing the bigger sets, like you said, Topps Chrome, to see what autos are going to bring out in those specific sets. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. It's nice to see a differentiation and a wider variety of autos in these sets. And like you said, the only flip side you put onto it is how easy is it to make your money back on these products now? How common is it going to be to personally rip a box and think, okay, I can make profit on these without hitting a card to 10 or to 5 or less that's going to guarantee your money back, which, as I said, we'll talk about a later point. But yeah, it's just refreshing to see these new autos, and particularly at this point in time where you are seeing these players now in their new kits, the new teams. It gives it that fresh look, that fresh edge, where you're like, okay, cool, we're now at a part of a new release with players in their new kits, new autos. For us now, we're seeing Declan Rice in an Arsenal shirt, you're seeing Harry Kane in a Munich shirt. So it's always exciting, it's always new, it's something fresh. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting 2024 looking ahead into the hobby and seeing how Fanatics going to change that round.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think it's part of the segment. Obviously, before we talk about prices of boxes and should they be changing, but Fanatics have got a massive set. We've been saying this for quite a while now, and no one's new to it, but someone out there might not. Fanatics is going to be a massive game changer in the way we look at cards coming in the next couple of years. The amount of exclusive deals they have with football teams, and for a lot of people, they do slander Panini quite a lot for not having like the match worn shirts anymore. One of the main reasons for it is actually since COVID, Fanatics have actually bought up near enough all of the supply of shirts that are being sold from football clubs. And you're seeing it a lot more going forward, that Fanatics will have all this stuff for sale, or if they cut them up into cards in the long run, because obviously tops are not the most biggest, not the most distribution of patches. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Obviously, you've got Museum, which do beautiful patches. Otherwise, from that, there's been a few of the team sets from Chrome that have had them, but otherwise, they don't do an abundance of patch cards in comparison to Panini, where Panini have them in quite a lot of sets. Obviously, Chronicles has quite a lot. Impeccable has quite a lot. Immaculate, just to name a couple. So it's going to be very interesting, Fanatics. What players they get on board. Hopefully, see some people re-sign. Obviously, Thierry Henry hasn't been a signer for quite a while for us Arsenal fans. So he's always gone quite well in price because he's not signing anything at the moment. But there's a load of players out there, and we just hope that, in a way, Fanatics use their brain cells in comparison to Panini sometimes. No, I don't say in the harsh way, but for example, the last Impeccable, it's Sol Campbell Tottenham auto. No Tottenham fan wants it. No Arsenal fan wants it. It's just a pointless card. You might get an England collector want it, but then they're probably going to want him in an Arsenal shirt anyway. For that, but it's just a weird one. Like, hopefully they've got the right people on board. It sounds like they're looking at doing events, whether US, Canada, or even Europe based as well. So they look like they're really down with the market. Obviously, we've seen people from Fanatics already travel over to London, go to Kaboom store, which is fantastic. So it looks promising from an early stage, obviously, Fanatics, but it's one of them now that it's going to be quite an intriguing year, 2 years, and maybe a bit on, where it transitions from tops. Really now it's under control by Fanatics. So, and then the rivalry between Fanatics and Panini, which has been rumbling on in the American sports, and it's got a bit hostile at times. So hopefully, like they can really challenge each other to produce even better products. I think that's what we mainly want as a collector slash interest within the hobby.
Yeah, of course, 100%. I think, we're very used to not having repetitiveness within the sets, but we are used to seeing, like I previously mentioned, the same pictures, the same autos, the same players in sets continuously through Topps and Panini. So hopefully with Fanatics coming on board, it does really change that and bring a different perspective in terms of what us collectors want to see. I think for me, one of the main things is going to be the non-associated patches. I think we can all agree, anyone listening can agree, that it's probably the one thing that drives everyone crazy is how it's gone from, player worn, game worn to non-associated. And you just think you've got a great bit of art with, a one of one with, the team badge in a patch and it's non-associated. You just think it's basically someone's got a shirt cut up and stuck it in the cardboard, where it's not actually a player worn or game worn piece of material. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Fanatics can do in terms of how it can, up the quality of the products that are being released, and most importantly, just have a bit of a different dynamic to some of the sets that are being released. I think it's looking already like it's on the up in terms of what we're seeing in some releases recently. And I think, going into the start of the new year, it's really going to sort of telltale in terms of how it's going to go and what we're going to be able to see. But yeah, fingers crossed, Fanatics and Panini can sort it out between the two of them, and just from what us collectors want to see and what we want to collect and what we want to see from new products, ultimately will determine how popular these new sets are, and what we want going forward. So it's definitely going to be interesting, but from what I can tell so far, I think it's looking positive.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect statement. Obviously, you referred to it about 10 minutes ago about the price of boxes and can you make your money back. It's become a harder and harder prospect with the market. People are saying it's in a decline, but I would say it's actually plateauing out in terms of it's where it should be at. The inflation of all the prices with COVID and everything like that put them up to a ridiculously high level, where there are some cars are going 500 to 1,000 times what they should be going for. So now it's obviously plateaued out, that it's a collector's market. You can buy, you've got good chances of buying cars that some points were 700-800 raw. Now you can get 10s for 300 to 400, which is brilliant for the collector, obviously not for the seller. So looking at a lot of releases, obviously, we take Deco, for example, because that's one of them in the spotlight at the moment, has been released. £120. You get 2 parallels, pretty much guaranteed. You're not guaranteed, but one of them's most likely going to be to 99. And one auto as well. So realistically, to make £120 back, it's still going to be tricky at £120. It's still going to be tricky. Obviously, if you get a good auto or a short print auto, you can go there. But I was seeing to 25 autos to 50 autos from the previous Deco go for around the 30, 40, 50 quid mark. So even if you take the higher figure at 50, that still leaves 70 quid to play with. And if you hit maybe a to 5, you might be able to get 70, 80 for it if it's not a top player. So with how the market's changing price-wise, and now as well, the higher print of these products, for example, Deco, you got to 99, to 75, to 50, to 25, to 10, and to 5, and to 101, I believe. It might not have the to 5.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, so it has the 5, so it's even bigger print run than I was actually thinking. So in your eyes, I know obviously companies will always try and get the most out of the products, but they're producing more, so they're making more profit, and it's harder to make your money back. So they're most likely these boxes are going to go into breakers. They can break even on it because they can sell the spots off. But for the individual collector like myself, yourself, or people listening along to this, do you think it's getting harder and harder to be reasonable and actually think about opening a box now that, especially when you look at Prism or something like that, when it's coming in at a few hundred, like 253, 350, 400, that everyday collector just can't do it anymore?
Yeah, I think, like you said, if we take Deco, for example, really, you look at the autograph checklist or, the base checklist, you think realistically you're going to have to hit at a 10, at a 5, or the 1 of 1 of a relatively big player to really look at breaking even. Like to break it down, I mean, you've got the autographs checklist. Realistically, throughout the autograph checklist, unless you're hitting the Zidane and Bellingham then and now, Ronaldo and Vinny then and now, and a couple of the actual, players' autos in a lower numbered, you're not looking at really making a lot of money back on the box. We've seen most of the autographs that will eventually plateau out at, 15, 20, 25 pounds overall, probably a good 75% of that checklist. That's what the price will probably settle as the autographs or base cards. So realistically, you're looking at needing probably to pour to 5 or a 1 of 1 of a big name player or an auto to look at really making a portion of your money back. So in response to the question, yes, I do think it's becoming increasingly difficult to try and make your money back on a box as a personal collector doing a personal rip. Obviously, yes, we know obviously in terms of the breaking world, how breakers can break even on boxes and how breakers do it, which makes it sustainable for them. But in terms of your average Joe collector that, is just wants to buy a box, gets lucky in the raffle and wins a box and thinks, cool, you know what, I'll rip this myself. To make your money back on a box, yeah, you've got to be hitting a 5 or lower of a relatively well-known high player to make even a fraction of your money back. And it's unfortunately becoming increasingly increasingly the same with every release that, it's becoming increasingly impossible to make money back on a box. And I think the more that time goes on, if it carries on this way, you won't see many, unless people can afford to lose money that quickly or that easily or that willingly. It's looking like a lot of boxes are going to go in with breakers, and people will break boxes that way. And I think it makes sense to some degree in that people are switching on to the fact that, cool, if I enter a break and just buy the spot that I want, as Arsenal collectors ourselves, if a box of Deco is released, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Look at Arsenal's spot on a break. I would never think to buy a box myself just for the want of Arsenal cards. So whether people are now thinking twice and thinking, cool, that seems the more logical way to do this. But yeah, whether something needs to be done about it in terms of the pricing of boxes, let's flip it on reverse. If Deco come out and said, yeah, cool, we're pricing at £45 a box, like they did with Showtime, I think it was, around that price point, you think, okay, cool, it's not too bad. You can probably relatively make your money back quite well on a product of maybe £50 or less. But £120 a box, when your chances of making money back on that box are quite slim. People may disagree. People may think, you know what, no, Harry, you're chatting out your ass. You probably can make your money back pretty easily. But I mean, realistically, I think it's gonna be quite difficult to make your, £120 plus back off a box of Deco.
No, I agree. And I think for me, I've always, especially, I feel like everyone gets it. Don't get me wrong, I love going into a break. I will talk about that. I'm always open. I'll talk about when I go into breaks. I bought into quite a few Sapphire breaks this month. But how I see it before I buy into a product, I will look at the checklist. For me, I'm never going to buy something that's not Arsenal realistically, unless it's a Arsenal player I really like who was in their other jersey at the time. For example, in Chrome, Chloe Lacasse, one of my favourite Arsenal women's players at the moment, is in Benfica stuff. And so I bought her in a couple of spots. But otherwise, my main chase this year was Stina Blackstenius, for example, in Sapphire. And how I looked at it was one box was £80. In that, the odds of an auto are something stupid, like 1 in every 10 cases or something like that. So you realistically take the auto out of the equation. So then you look at it of at that £80, it's actually quite a good price point, the £80 mark, because you've got a good chance of making your money back if you hit anything. You get 2 numbered on average. So how I was seeing it was, out of all the teams, what's the odds of hitting an Arsenal player at them 2? Very low, probably 5%, probably that kind of territory. And then out of that 5%, especially Stenius wise, you're probably looking at out of that 5%, it's 0.75% of a box. So would I rather invest £80, say, in Stina Blackstenius in case breaks or into buying one personal box? And that's how I've always done it in my head. For me, TFF was doing a free case breaker Sapphire, where the price was originally about £100 for Stina, and I was thinking that's not a terrible price. And then to get this spot sold, he done a 50% off sales, which brought it down to about £51. Which then worked it out per box. I think it worked out something about a £5 for a box, or no, it wasn't even that. It would have worked out about £2 a box, which I thought, a gamble at that. Would you gamble on one box at £2? You probably would. So I thought I'll gamble on the free case. And so that's how I've seen it in my head of working out the chances of hitting something that I want. For example, if you're opening a box of Panini Prism, you're not going to want Tottenham. You're not going to want Chelsea. You're not going to want Man City. You're not going to want Man U. The only spot you want is Arsenal. So it makes sense to break. So obviously for you, when you was looking at Martin Odegaard from Stadium Club Chrome, you done the same thing. You was debating buying a box. But then you thought, you know what, for the same price, not even the same price, for a quarter of that price, I could just buy Arsenal. So do you think now, especially within the UK, we've said this every few weeks, that obviously we're getting smarter as a collective into buying into breaks or buying boxes, buying product, that people are realizing now, rather than sinking a couple of hundred into boxes, they might as well do half of that or even the same amount in breaks?
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head in terms of the way the most collectors are thinking nowadays in terms of new releases and breaking. That, you can be okay, you're not going to get as many cards. If you're looking at a box of Stadium Club Chrome, what was it, 160, 140 when Stadium Club was released? You're thinking, cool, I can sink 140, 160 quid into a box of Stadium Club Chrome. I'm going to get the whole box. The whole box is mine. I can do whatever I want to do with that box. Or I spend £40 and I go into a box, like a case break of Arsenal, and I hit 7 cards.
Yeah.
So there's that flip side of doing that, where you're guaranteed potentially a small portion of cards with 1, maybe 2 numbered hits. That you, either way you look at it, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
Either way you look at it, you're not guaranteed anything. So yes, I would still rather put that £40 into a case break with just Arsenal, because that way I'm only going to get cards back that I want. I'm not going to get all your random base cards here and there, your random numbered cards that whatever team that you pull, stuff that you don't want. But like you said, I think most collectors are becoming smarter and thinking, you know what, I would rather save that £100, use that £40 to enter into a case break where I can get that team that I want to collect and that team that I do collect, and knowing that every card that I get will be from that team, rather than spending an extra £100. Yeah, cool. Open the boxes, all fun and games, until you get to anything. Well, that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
I pulled an auto to 99 and a number to 300 at the rate some of these numbered cards are going, and that's it. I've got nothing else to show for it. So yeah, I think if you have that money, that you can lose, by all means, go figure. I mean, it's a fun rip, but for your average collector that like me and you that think a little bit, the average is becoming a bit smarter in terms of the way they look at new products and breaks. That is the way that people are doing it going forward, is buying into a break with a team of their choice. And it's why we're seeing the PYTs becoming so much more popular, selling out so much quicker, because that's the way people are looking at it nowadays.
I 100% agree with you, and I think that's as well now for people who don't understand, and just like logic with when you're buying in bulk, you can get it for a better price. So when breakers are buying, not even by the case, sometimes by 5 to 10 to 15 cases, then they can bring that price down per box. Whereas, say for example, we might be paying £80 or resale £100 on the box, they might be able to get it retail at 80. So they've already they've got a bit less of a margin, but then also they can split up, which is helpful for us, and obviously which turns around perfectly in. It's an interesting situation to see how it goes in the future. I think we're at that point where, like I say, people are getting smarter, especially the soccer market in general. It is getting to that point of, we had the massive hype of COVID and then coming out of it, but yeah, again, we're still, in comparison to basketball, American football, baseball, even hockey, we're so low in terms of, like, if you look at some of the Pelés or Puskas or players like that, are what they're going for in comparison to your Michael Jordans, your Babe Ruths and all that. There's still so much room to grow. Like, the market is still very young. It's some of the experts I was listening to last week on a fantastic podcast they're saying the soccer market's arguably 35, 40 years behind some of these other ones. So who knows what it's going to be like in next week or 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, 5 years. So it's a very intriguing one to see. And obviously, especially some of the short print stuff, it's never going to get cheaper. It's only going to ever probably stay the same, if not go up. So it's going to be a fantastic market to keep following. And like I say, I feel like everyone's been in that position where if you see a certain card come up, you may never see it come up again. And that's now with arguably a small market of people that are actually buying and selling these cards at the current climate, that what happens in 5 years' time when there's 50 times the amount of people collecting it, how is it going to look then? So it's going to be intriguing to see. Obviously, for people who've watched basketball breaks and stuff like that, you'll realize some of their products are numbered to 999. And obviously, for us, a high one is 400. So that's in comparison to basketball. Basketball's printed crazily in terms of some of their stuff. So it's intriguing to see, obviously, where it goes with Fanatics, with Panini, and then some of the other players as well. You've got Deco, Futera, Upper Deck, all of these ones as well, that players in the background that might make moves, obviously signing up teams. So it's going to be very intriguing to see that near future. And obviously, to wrap up this episode, obviously, we haven't got many pickups. Like, we're saving our money, trying to save our money. That's more like the thing. Obviously, with London about 5 weeks away now, if that, probably about 4 or 5 weeks away, which is crazy as they feel. But obviously, we normally say, have you picked up anything? I actually had some breaks come back through, which I will show off in a second. But obviously, H, you did mention when a couple of weeks ago you was actually having a go at Panini, like I was. I was saying Ben White's redemptions are never sent out. And you was like, well, they're never going to send out the Ramsdale and Ben White ones, which you've been wanting to buy since day one. I remember on the podcast you said about it. I've heard a little birdie say that you're having a look around now because they've started shipping out from Panini headquarters.
Yes. Yeah, I know obviously we saw a lot recently where Ben White redemptions will be fulfilled. And obviously Ramsdale has signed for a little while now. So yeah, I come across an Instagram story earlier with someone obviously listing up a Ben White Ramsdale dual auto from Impeccable. So I have politely messaged him and asked what price he's asking for. It's number 1 of 99. So yeah, I'm sure I will be able to give you an answer the next episode when we record as to how that went or whether we managed to get a deal done or not. But again, it's one of those things where it's still technically they're fresh out. You know, I know they're probably not even the most recent product the year before that Impeccable products, but they've only just been fulfilled. So in terms of the price point that you can point towards, I mean, where'd you start? There's currently one listed on eBay, the Ruby from the Asia exclusive, that's got a buy it now price, and that's the only comp you really have to go off, and it's not even sold. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll report back next episode to see how I got on with that, and hopefully we can secure the deal. But I know you've been very successful in your recent breaks. I'm sure you can tell by the grin on your face you've done well.
Yeah, it's one of them that it's weird. I think everyone's had that feeling with cards where you look at a card and you instantly you smile away. You like, and for me, obviously referred to it earlier that I had entered a few Steiner Black Stenius cases. First couple of cases, I honestly hit base cards. Be transparent. First one lost money on. Definitely lost money on it. Probably lost around 50, 60 quid in value, but got a load of base cards to just sit there doing nothing. So if anyone did ever need any base cards, I do reach out because I might have some spare. But then, lucky enough, I entered then a free case of Sapphire, which is 30 boxes with TFF. I've got to say, a massive through ball this was from GBW, who will be on an episode very soon, but he's just currently on tour with Top. So the episode had been delayed. But he messaged at 50% off Viviana Miedemont and Black Stenius separate spots. And I was sitting there eating dinner at the time. I was arming and ahhing. One of them is like, oh, do I take Steiner again? I haven't hit nothing. Do I take Viv? I haven't had it yet. Viv got sold. Someone else bought Viv. So I was left with Steiner, and I was like, you know what? I'll do it. Just, I feel bad if something gets hit. And then, so for people who don't know, she has her base cards. And then within Sapphire, you have Sapphire selections, which is 2 per case. So this is the base design, what I managed to hit. It's a lovely design. And what I really like about it, most of the card design, so for people who are not watching along, is actually the sapphire foil itself. Whereas like the normal cards, this is an example of chrome, is mainly the border and then it's a bit of a tint within the card. So that was, I thought, beautiful card. And then I was very fortunate to hit the orange, which is numbered to 25, which is aesthetically an unbelievable card. And then for some reason, the pack gods were looking down on me that day because I hit probably my best ever pull from a break. And this is one of my top 5 PC items now, is the to 5, which is a reddish pink, obviously like similar to color match, to 5 Steiner as well. So funny enough, as of recording this, the 1 of 1 is currently up on eBay and it's ending soon. My bank account's probably not going to want me to bid on it, but I will update you next week depending on how that auction goes, because I'm definitely going to try for it. Because the rainbow's only 4 cards. It is the base, that's a 25, and the to 5, and then obviously the 1 of 1, which is like a gold vinyl. So that'd be really intriguing. But like I say, you do, as we always say, only ever buy into breaks if you have the money. Don't ever do it and put yourself in a hole. Same with buying cards. We always say, at the end of the day, it is a hobby at the end of the day. So if you don't have the money, it's easy enough to say, in my personal opinion, don't do it. But if you can, try not to. And obviously, if you find yourself in a position where you keep buying into stuff, obviously there's people there to help. There's different websites and different organizations, which we always recommend, especially now with certain companies offering the Klarna perspective as well, which can be very dangerous. So we'd like to say, obviously, just always
don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Obviously, always, they say gamble responsibly, but we've got to apply that to cards as well. So, H, it's been a very intriguing episode, quite good talking points. Obviously, a few guests lined up, but is there anything else, any other statements or anything you'd like to say, or any slab mag colours that you want them to bring out, that if they're just in case they're listening?
I mean, I'm happy with red, to be quite honest with you. But no, I think that'd be interesting to hear other people's opinions on the prices of boxes and whether that needs to be sort of, adjusted to make it more easily accessible and feasible for people to make money back on breaks. Comment down on the YouTube, drop us a message on Instagram, comment on Instagram, and let us know what you guys think in terms of whether box prices are accurate in terms of the way the market is at the moment. Be interesting to hear and talk about other people's opinions as well. But otherwise, yeah, I think that is pretty much it from me this episode, Ron.
Yeah, like I say, thank you ever so much, everyone who's watched along, listened along, whether it's on Apple, YouTube, or Spotify. But if you are listening on YouTube, please do let us leave a little like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're on Spotify, please rate us 5 stars. It massively helps us get pushed out and be able to bring you even better content every week. But like I say, thanks again for Third Down Display for powering this episode. And if you do want any card care, custom stands, or anything at all supplies-wise,
Lab mags.
ink does include slab mags in various colours and sizes. That no doubt, at one, I might as well get a promo behind this guy. He might as well have like a slab mag design behind him. We might as well just change his name to Slab Mag UK or something. But
Slab mag Harry.
yeah, so but if you do want to buy slab mags in honor of HGA, obviously at him as well if you do buy one, but use TTP10 at discount or use the link directly in our bio. But until next time, I hope everyone out there is staying safe, doing well, buying, selling, trading, and all that good jazz. And most importantly, happy hobbying and good night.